Hello physicists, welcome to Easy Physics. My name is Shubham and this is the lecture series of astrophysics. So today we are going to start its 6th lecture. And in the previous lecture we have discussed the color index, the bolometric correction and the relation between the size, the luminosity and the temperature of the star. So today we are going to start a new lecture which is the binary star. So let's start with our sun. Our sun is the closest star we have and it has a complete solar system. But our sun walks through the space alone because it does not have any other star with it. It only have the planets, the comets, the asteroids and moon. So if we think accordingly, we might be think that the star walk through the space alone. But this is not the case. If we look in the sky with the telescopes, we notice that there are a lot of stars which walk through the space with their companions, or I can say with other stars. Such that, suppose I am looking at a star which is right here. This is my telescope and I am looking at this star. And when I look carefully, I found that this is not the only one star. Here is another star which is very close with this star. So, some star can have pairs and some star can have pairs by coincidentally. They does not have any connection. So, if the two stars are just close enough but they are not in their gravitational attraction range. So these stars are called the optically double star. But there are many stars which are so close enough that they comes in the mutual gravitational attraction range. If I talk about this star, then the two stars are close enough if we look with the help of the telescope, but actually they are very far away in the region of their space. But if the two stars are very close enough that they comes into their mutual gravitational attraction range, then the stars are called the binary stars. I repeat, if the two stars are close enough that they comes into their mutual gravitational attraction range and they started revolving around their common center of mass, then the stars are called the binary stars. So the binary stars can be classified in many types. Let's see. The first binary star can be defined as visual binaries. Let's talk about this. Visual binary stars are those stars which can be distinguished by just looking with the help of telescope. If we use a telescope and we find that the two stars are separated by some distance and the both stars are different, they have their individual property and they just revolve around their common center of mass, then these two stars are called the visual binaries because we can just directly observe by viewing these stars. So let's discuss how stars revolve each other. We can start by just considering the case of mutual gravitational attraction first. So let's understand what is mutual gravitational attraction. If I talk about our solar system, this is our sun, and here are some planets. Let's say Earth. For the simplicity, we just take Earth and Sun. So Earth is revolving the Sun. We just know this, the Earth is revolving the Sun. But this is not the case actually. Earth does not revolve the Sun. Actually, Earth revolves the common center of mass of Earth and Sun. There are a lot of other planets, but I just consider the case of Earth and Sun for the simplicity. Earth just revolves the common center of mass, and Sun is not static. Sun also revolves around the common center of mass. Just like Earth revolves this way and Sun revolves this way. Actually, we ignore the revolution of Sun because the center of mass lies in the radius of Sun in a maximum time. Let's find out the center of mass position. If I say there is a point P, and here is a vector RE for Earth, and here is a vector RS for Sun, then what will be the vector R center of mass? So we know how to calculate the center of mass. R center of mass is equal to R E into mass of Earth plus R S into mass of Sun upon mass of Earth plus mass of Sun. Now, mass of Sun is very large comparative to mass of Earth. Even the Sun has 99.8% approximately mass of entire solar system. Only 0.2% mass have all the other planets. So I can write, okay, I just take some term common, which is the mass of Sun. So RE into mass of Earth divided by mass of Sun plus RS upon mass of Sun, mass of Earth upon mass of Sun plus 1. What we get? Can we ignore this term? Obviously, because the mass of Sun is very large comparative to mass of Earth. So we can write this, we can cancel these terms, and we can write only this RS, because this term will come out to be 0 approximately, and this is 1. So we just get RS. This is the approximation due to the large mass of Sun, but it never equal to RS exactly. So we just say the center of mass is at the center of sun using this approximation, and we say the all planets revolve the sun, but in reality all planet does not revolve the sun. All planets revolves the common center of mass of entire solar system. So we can get the idea using this example. If we do not apply this approximation and somehow mass of earth is comparative to mass of sun, or I can say I have another star, so I cannot apply this approximation, and both star will revolve around a common center of mass which will lie somewhere here or here or here. I think we have the better understanding of mutual gravitational attraction. So now let's look at the trajectory of the path of both stars. Let's say this is star 1. I should draw a smaller star so that I could draw the trajectory. This is the star 1 and here is star 2, which are the part of the binary stars, and somewhere here is the center of mass. So both stars will revolve around the center of mass. So we can say the trajectory of star 1 will be look like this, and the trajectory of star 2 will look like this. Now what will happen when this star will come here? I can say at some particular angle theta. Where will this star go? What will be the position of the star 2? Okay, the center of mass will not move because there is no any external force, so it will lie here. So this star cannot be here or here or here. If this star will be here, then center of mass cannot be lie here, it must be lie some at the line joining the stars, in between at the line. So this star must be in the line joining of the center of mass and the both star. This star must lie here, so both angle be same. Or when this star will lie here, this star will lie here, or if it lie here, then the other star lie here. So we can see that the both stars are moving this way, that they make the same angle, or we can say the angular displacement. So if they are making the same angular displacement in the same time, then we can say the both stars have same angular velocity. So this is the conclusion, and here is a trajectory also, and the conclusion is both stars have same angular velocity. So we were discussing the binary stars, visual binary stars. So visually binary stars are very important because if we observe their trajectories for a long time. Then we can know the information about their orbits. So if we know the distance of the binary system at from our location and the distance between the binary stars, we can get the information about everything about the stars. Just like we can get the information about mass, we will discuss later after discussing the other type of binary stars. So we can get the information of mass, and with the help of mass we can know everything about the stars, just like how old star is and what will be life of the star, how luminous it is, everything. So this is the visual binary stars. We will come to it later. Now if I talk about a case in which the stars are so close enough that we cannot see them separately even using our biggest telescope. So how we will see the stars? The answer is spectroscopy. Let's see. The second star is spectroscopic binaries. Spectroscopy binaries. So these stars are so close enough, just like this star and this star are so close enough that we cannot see them separately by using our biggest telescope. So how we get the information? Suppose this star is moving this way and this star is moving this way, okay, and you are observing these stars from here. So what information do you get? Look at this star. This star is coming towards you at this time, at this location. This star is coming towards you and this star is going away from you. So what physics we can apply on them? We can use the red shift and the blue shift, I mean the Doppler shift. So for star V1, this star is coming towards us, so we see the light of this star towards blue, or we can see there will be a blue shift. And there will be the red shift. So we know that this star will coming towards us because it is showing the blue shift, and after some time this star, the same star, is going away from us and this star is going towards us. So if a same star is showing a blue shift, again a red shift, again a blue shift, and the other star is showing the opposite property, so what we conclude? Obviously these are the binary stars. So we observe them by using the spectroscopy, so we say that these are the spectroscopy binaries. Now next binary stars that we observe are eclipsing binaries. So we know about the solar eclipse. What is the case of solar eclipse? if the some portion of sun is if the some portion of sun cannot be viewed because there is moon between the path of incoming rays. So what we see, only this portion of the sun. So we say that this is the solar eclipse. Okay, so binary stars can also do this thing. Let's see. If your angle of view, or if your side of view and the revolving plane of the binary stars makes the angle approximately 0 degree, or I can say the both things are in the same plane, then think about this case. If this star is going here, then this star will come here, and what is your the side of your view? You will view these stars as this. So this is the similar case of solar eclipse. So what we observe, let me draw this in another way. Let you are viewing from this direction, and here is a star A and here is a star B. So after some time the star will come like this. Here is a star A and the star B comes like this way. So it blocks some radiation which was coming from the star A. Okay, in this case we are receiving the radiation from star A as well as star B, but in this case we are receiving the radiation from star B, but we are not receiving the same radiation from star A as we are receiving before, because the some radiation is blocked by the star B. So we have some dip. If this is a time scale and this is the brightness, so at this location we have some dip in the brightness because the brightness is decreasing. We have the less amount of radiation. And there will be also another case when the star A is here and star B is come behind the star A. Star B is behind the star A. So the radiation which was coming from the star B is completely blocked by the star A. So we can have some different dip or the same dip depending upon the amount of radiation coming from both stars. So we get this periodic behavior with the time in these binary stars. So we can get the information about the binary stars if the stars are eclipsing binaries. Some stars are so closed that they started liking cuddling each other like human. So these stars are called the contact binary stars. Actually they are eclipsing binaries, but they are the contact binary star in this category. So like if the star B is here and here is a star A, so they started sharing their material or their stuff. We can have some example. Suppose here is a star A and the other star B. Suppose star A is the massive star, we can say which have the 2 times of the solar mass, so it will become a very brighter star, or the blue star. And star B, we can say that it has the half mass of sun, so it become a red dwarf. And star A is a blue star. So red dwarf does not eat its fuel so quick, so it will be a stable star. But this is a very massive star, so it will eat its fuel faster, so it will become a red giant after some time, and it will expand like this, just like it started come in the atmosphere of star B, and the both stars started sharing their atmosphere or their stuff, their material. So these stars are called the contact binaries. The last category of the star is the astrometric binaries. So there are stars in the sky which just revolve something which cannot be seen, or we can say there are some stars which revolve like this, some empty space. So how it is possible that some star is revolving an empty space? Empty space does not have the mass that the star can revolve it. So how it is revolving? So this is the case of some stars which is a star is so dim that we cannot see that star, so we see only the dark space, or this can be the case of a black hole. So this is the possible case of any star or black hole which cannot be seen, and we can see only one star. So we put these stars in the category of astrometric binaries. Now we have discussed almost every category of the binary stars. So we know some common examples of these stars, like the brightest star in the sky. What is the name? It is star Sirius. Star Sirius is the brightest star in the sky. So if we look at the star Sirius star with our telescope, we can see here is a white dwarf. And the both stars are revolving each other, revolving their common center of mass. So, but this case is quite funny, because if we look these stars in the X-rays range, then we find this system something like this. This is the white dwarf, and this is star Sirius. Why it is? Because we discussed that the temperature of white dwarf is very high, and it emits the most of its radius in the range of X-rays. So this star seems very bigger and brighter in the range of X-rays in comparative to star Sirius. So in the conclusion, we can say the both stars are the part of which binaries? These stars are the part of visual binaries, because we can observe them by using our telescope. Now let's see another example. There is a system of Mizar and Alcor. These are the two bright things in the sky, which can be seen separately using our eyes. Actually, these things were used in the ancient time to test the eyesight, because if someone can view them separately, they have the fine eyesight, but if someone cannot see them separately, there is some problem. So why I am using the word thing for this, why I am not using the term star? Because these are actually the system of star. When we look the Mizar with the telescope, we find that it is the system of two stars. Let's say this is Mizar. So two stars are Mizar 1 and Mizar 2, and we can observe Mizar 1 and Mizar 2 with the help of telescope. So Mizar 1 and Mizar 2 are the binary stars. But the story does not end here. The Mizar 1 is itself a spectroscopy binary system. It has two stars, and similarly Mizar 2 also have the two stars, which is the part of spectroscopy binaries. So these two stars are the part of spectroscopy binaries. These two stars are the part of spectroscopy binaries, and Mizar 1 and Mizar 2 are the part of the visual binaries. And similarly, Alcor is also made of two spectroscopy binaries. So how many stars are there? There are 6 stars, and all 6 stars are bind in their mutual gravitational attraction, because the Mizar and Alcor revolve the common center of mass of each other. So what is the conclusion? The conclusion is there is not only the binary stars in the sky, there are multi-star system also. So this system is known as 6 tuple system. So similarly we can have the system of 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars. So now I think we have discussed the all categories. Now let's come to the visual binaries and let's see how we are going to calculate the mass of the stars. So suppose here is a star, let's say star 1, and here is a star, let's say star 2. And the separation of these stars is r. Now suppose I draw the center of mass of this system is here, and the radial vector to the star 1 is defined as r1, and the radial vector to the star 2 is defined as r2. Now if I want to calculate the center of mass of this system with reference to the center of mass, I can calculate like COM is m1 vector r1 plus m2 vector r2 upon m1 plus m2. So I repeat, I am calculating the center of mass of this system at the location of the center of mass, from the location of the center of mass. So what is the center of mass with respect to this location, which means the distance of center of mass from this point, it is 0 because center of mass is lie here. So center of mass is 0 from this point, and here is vector r1 and here is vector r2, and if the stars will rotate, then this star will come like this and this star will go like this. So let's say r1, if r1 will be like this, then r2 will be like this. So what is the conclusion? R1 and r2 will always have the opposite direction to each other. So if I write with the sign, so if I use a positive sign for r2, then I must use the negative sign for r1 because the direction is opposite, and vice versa. So let me use a negative sign for r1. I say minus r1. We can also use plus r1 and minus r2. I just use minus r1 plus m2 r2 upon m1 plus m2. So this will go to the 0. So 0 is equal to minus m1 r1 plus m2 r2, or I can say m1 r1 is equal to m2 r2, equation 1. Okay, so I can write the relation between r1 and r2 as r1 plus r2 is equal to r. r1 plus r2 is equal to r. So if I use r1 as r minus r2 in this equation, so what I will get? m1, I will use r minus r2 in place of r1 is equal to m2 r2, or I can write m1 r minus m1 r2 is equal to m2 r2, or m1 r is equal to r2 m1 plus m2, or I can write r2 is equal to m1 r upon m1 plus m2. m1 plus m2 is the total mass of the binary system. I can write this as r is equal to m1 r upon total mass. I can write this as equation 2. I can also use the relation R2 is R minus R1. If I use this relation in this, then I get M1 R1 is equal to M2 R minus R1, and I get R1 M1 plus M2 is equal to M2 R, or R1 is equal to M2 R upon total mass. So I get equation 3. This is R2. So I get R1 and R2 in terms of the separation and the total mass and a mass of the other star. So now I want to balance the force experiencing by a star. Let's say star 1 is revolving like this, so it must experience some force outward and some force inward, and the both forces are balanced so that it can be orbit in a stable orbit. Let's assume the orbit as circular. So I can say that the total outward force must be equal total inward force. And what will be total outward force? It will be the F centrifugal force, which is mass into velocity square. If I say the velocity of this star is v1 and velocity of this star is v2, mv square upon r1. r1 is the radius of its orbit, which is r1. It will rotate like this. So it will be balanced by the force of gravity, and because this star will pull this star towards it, so I can write G m1 m2 upon separation square, which is r square. Okay, so v1 is, what is v1? Velocity is distance upon time, and if I use the distance as the whole path, which is 2 pi r approximately, so 2 pi r1 upon the total time period, I say t, capital T. So I use this in this relation, so I write m1 upon r1, or 2 pi r1 upon t square is equal to G m1 m2 upon r square. I can cancel m1 from m1 and r1 with the 1 of the r1. So I can write 2 pi upon t square into r1 is equal to G m2 upon r square. I can use r1 from here, so I can write 4 pi square upon t square, and r1 is m2 r upon total mass is equal to G m2 upon r square. I can cancel m2 from m2. So what I get, let me write here, I get 4 pi square upon t square r upon m is equal to G upon r square. So 4 pi square upon t square into r cube is equal to G m, or I can write r cube upon t square is equal to G upon 4 pi square into total mass of the binary system. So here we get the total mass of the binary system, which is capital M, and we also know M2 and M1. So we can write this relation in terms of angular velocity also. Let's see, this is the time period of star 1, as I said, but this time period will be same for the star 2 as well, because the angular velocity of both stars are same, as I discussed. So the time taken by this star for one revolution will be equal to the time taken by this star. So I can write angular velocity omega as 2 pi by t. So using this equation, I can write 4 pi square upon t square is equal to g upon r cube m. So this is 2 pi by t whole square is equal to gm upon r cube, or we can write omega square is equal to gm upon r cube. So we find the mass of the binary system in terms of angular velocity and the separation of the star. And from this relation we can also write that r cube is directly proportional to t square, which is the Kepler's third law. So we have discussed about all types of binary stars and about the visual binary star in the detail. And in the next lecture we will discuss about the spectroscopy and eclipsing binary stars in detail. So if you like this video, then put the like button and subscribe the channel and keep watching Easy Physics. Thank you.